amidst all and everything in the way of mind, from mind itself like this constantly. Everyone is already amidst samsara. Simultaneously use the essence of mind from mind itself altogether. Discard the discarding itself, not grasping for the non-grasping itself. Let's use the conclusion simultaneously. The purification will be there while you are amidst samsara. Use the awakening and brightening, dispersing at the same time. It is the power. And this is the power to use for the blessing. It is the brightness. Therefore, awaken out, widen out extensively. Each reminder has to be used with the opening that is widely. Is the force to help unwind extensively for samsara. This is not just mind within mind itself, mind from mind itself within oneself. This is to give ending for samsara simultaneously. Therefore, it needs to be using the awakening in the way without limits, widen out without limits, both awakening and dispersing without limits, just like the brightness that shine through, shine out limitlessly. It is not just shining out of itself, but it is the brightness that shines through all and everything widely, extensively. Open up completely, widely. Do water blessing often. Wherever you are, in the temple, in your home, walk about and bless more often. You need to take a walk to bless. Don't sit indifferently and drown in yourself. Conclude through the essence of the noble truth simultaneously. Use the way of walking. Then it will release out from sunken mind. If you sit, you will drown in yourself. Therefore, you need movements. Use movement for the blessing. If you sit still, you will drown in yourself. Everything is mind from mind itself in the way that is widened out extensively and completely. This will be cutting through in the way that is extensive, purifying through the extinction extensively. Step back from the stepping back itself. Not grasping for the non-grasping itself. If the desire is off-sided, it's not okay. So open up, step back from the stepping back itself, not grasping for the non-grasping itself. Step back to not grasp for the non-grasping itself, mind from mind itself. Opening eyes and ears like this, all the projection forward, it creates clashes and it will create a lot of Vedana, which will create a lot of karma. Keep your eyes and ears opening amidst all and everything, but step back, disengage from disengaging itself, not grasp for the non-grasping itself, and step back from the stepping back itself. Lotus flowers, discard its blossoming state. Step back from the stepping back itself. This is the release that releases itself. Step back from the stepping back itself. Did you know stepping back? Right? Step back from the body and mind and from itself, not grasping for the non-grasping itself. This is the unwinding that discards itself. It's not just unwind from anything. It discards from its unwinding state. The same as lotus flowers discarding its blossoming state. Not grasping for the non-grasping itself, then it will end, truly ending. If you can step back from the stepping back itself, you are okay. It's the same essence as not grasping for the non-grasping itself. Step back from the body and mind and all things, but step back from the stepping back itself. That is not grasping for the non-grasping itself. That is blossoming out of its blossoming state. Normally, they are practicing the mindfulness, always maintaining the knowing and fixated to knowing on and on. This has nothing to do with knowing or not knowing at all. It is the essence of give up the giving up itself totally and purely. Put down the putting down itself purely. It has nothing to do with knowing or not knowing. It has nothing to do with any types of Dharma at all. Let go of the letting go itself. Put down the putting down itself purely. Give up the giving up itself purely. And with the great compassion, just open up eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind in balance with all things. This will create the purification for all things automatically. Not grasping for the non-grasping itself, child. Step back to this essence with everything simultaneously with the whole samsara. Step back from the stepping back itself simultaneously. Step back to not grasp for the non-grasping itself. Releasing altogether, my from my itself. Step back to not grasp for the non-grasping itself. Step back from the stepping back itself simultaneously with the whole samsara. This will give the anupap, the mighty force of releasing, unwinding altogether. Open up simultaneously with samsara. This will be sharing the great compassion for samsara. This is not liberation and detachment for the sake of itself. Therefore, the great compassion is not just about liberation for the sake of itself, liberation from the liberation itself. Not grasping, not just within itself, not grasping for the non-grasping itself. Purify for samsara limitlessly. Cut through the circling within the mind. With everything, step back from the stepping back itself, constantly, with everything, simultaneously. Cutting deluded knowing, cutting within the cutting itself. Cut through, which is my. My is the cutting, cutting within itself. So step back, my from my itself, cut through the cutting itself. There is total cutting simultaneously all at once. This is auto-cutting. To cut this and that, this is an act of cutting one or two things. Is not true cutting because there is no cutting within itself. There is no auto-cutting. Therefore, all the circling within the emotions will be cut off on its own. All the delusion within anything in the knowing will be cut off, shorten and shorten and shorten all by itself. Therefore, step back to not grasp for the non-grasping itself, my from my itself. All the delusion to circle within anything, within happiness or suffering will be shortened. This is the essence of the enlightenment. My is cutting, cutting is my. Therefore, with everything, learn to step back from the stepping back itself. This is not an act of cutting anything. Step back to the essence of my from my itself. This is not about my with anything. It's not an act of cutting. This is not an act of cutting anything. Cutting within itself, auto-cutting, auto-my, my from my itself. There is no need to cut off the mind either, because that is too far. Cutting is within itself, is auto-cutting, which is my itself. Don't my at the mind or anywhere whatsoever. My from my itself. Step back, my within my itself. Aligning with the auto-cutting, then there is ending. And then cutting will be for everything simultaneously on its own. Otherwise, you will just always identifying, circling within this kind of exhaustion, being obsessed with identification. There is just samsara within the mind, circling on and on, always exhausted, always unbearable. The essence of the enlightenment, there is not much. Just step back. My from my itself, remind oneself with this essence more often. Step back with my from my itself, use this reminder. Then there is auto-cutting. This is not an act of cutting anything. Cutting is auto. It is not an act of cutting anything, child. Cutting is within itself. This is not about my to anything. My within my itself. The letting go as well. Let go of the letting go itself. That is circuit breaker, not at one switch. Let's end it right at the origin. Put down, the putting down itself is not an act of putting down anything. Let go as well. Let go of the letting go itself. It's not an act of letting go of anything. This will be aligned with the true letting go, which is letting go of letting go itself. Therefore, there is no need to be exhausted to try to let go of this and that, to be preoccupied on and on with practicing. Being preoccupied with the attempt to let go, therefore, is not true letting go. True letting go is the letting go of itself, auto letting go. This is not driving and then let go of the wheel. Let go of the letting go itself instead of an act of letting go. Put down, the putting down itself is not about an act of putting down anything. It's not about putting down the task, because that is not going to finish it. Put down the putting down itself instead. If there is a task, just do it, then it will be finished. Like this, okay, child? The putting down has been done in the wrong location. That's why it's not true putting down. Putting down must put down of itself. Let go of the letting go itself. It will give ending to everything. When the putting down is not right at the origin, then it's not ending. Putting down this and that is not giving ending. This is creating the maya, the illusion in putting down is not at the right place. Let's end the attempt to put down. Put down at the putting down itself. Otherwise, it just continue onwards in the act of putting down because it's not at the right place. The letting go is not at the right place. Then it will not be truly letting go. The letting go must let go of itself, not attached to the non-attachment itself. It's not about attempting to not attach to anything. Therefore, the reminders of cutting is stepping back to my from my itself constantly. Otherwise, the desire is always off-sided, always projecting forward, always identifying. That is the delusion that is off-sided. It doesn't work. Always off-sided forward. It's clashing and clashing. Projecting and clashing with all things. This is called the worldlings, the way of the worldlings. Therefore, step back, so that there is no clash. Step back to my from my itself. There is no need to clash with anything. If you project with the knowing, there is clashing towards all things, whether it's good or bad, there is clashing. There's always the unbearable. Therefore, step back. Step back from the stepping back itself towards my from my itself, not grasping for the non-grasping itself. Always with this essence. The lotus flowers discard the blossoming stage. This is the blossoming of the enlightenment, of liberation. This is called the conclusion of Nirodha and Nibbana, of Vimutti.